Shadow fleet, dark fleet, ghost fleet. Sinister synonyms for decrepit vessels with questionable ownership and inadequate accident insurance, which environmentalists say are carrying sanctioned Russian oil way too close for comfort in the Danish Straits.
It is extremely serious and it is extremely risky. These oil tankers are carrying over 100,000 tons of crude oil that is toxic to humans and to the environment and will put waste to our coastlines for decades if a big accident happens.
A small accident did happen here in March when the 15-year-old, then Panama-flagged Andromeda Star collided with another ship. Luckily, it was empty, but the crew reportedly could not prove the vessel had proper insurance, typical of Shadow Fleet ships.
So we're left with the bill. We're left with the cleanup, right?
Since the Danish Straits are international waters, Russia is allowed to use them, even though most of its crude oil cannot be sold directly to European buyers because of sanctions. But that free passage is coming under scrutiny. This country's relatively narrow waterways are a strategic gateway between Russia's ports and its major markets. But the growing number of these completely unregulated ships and growing public awareness about the dangers they pose are putting pressure on the Danish government to do something about them. Investigative journalist Jakob Kjøksborg has been exposing the fleet's murky business practices.
They have flag states in countries like Gabon, which is a military dictatorship that recently had a coup.
Some experts say the Shadow Fleet now carries 4/5 of all Russia's exports of crude oil under the regulatory radar.
You have these vessels that don't exist on paper, but they're right here in front of my eyes. This huge fleet of oil tankers just working in Denmark every day, but nobody knows who's controlling them. I think that's very interesting, and I think we need to get to the bottom of who is controlling them.
Now the Danish government pledges an international coalition will try to force better practices on the fleet. But how? Sanctions experts at the Kyiv School of Economics Institute believe the key is to more aggressively target ships known to be flouting their obligation to have credible oil spill insurance.
The vessel would be identified as property of a sanctioned entity, but most importantly, anyone interacting with this vessel or the cargo that it carries could face enforcement action themselves.
That recommendation goes further than the European Union's new sanctions on some Shadow Fleet vessels, banning them for the first time from European ports and services. But that doesn't block the ships from sailing through international waters like the Danish Straits. Whether and how to do that is highly controversial.
Are we willing to go out and intercept and stop this ship? Because if we are, then we are in the crosshairs of Moscow saying, okay, Denmark, just stop the ship. So we'll just let the next ship going through, make sure that it has an accident so that they have a huge pollution in Danish waters, and then Denmark can do the cleanup, and good luck with that.
Moscow has already threatened Denmark with retaliation just for considering a response to the dark fleet. But without one, billions of dollars in illegal oil revenue will continue flowing through European waterways to the Kremlin war chest.